The cyberpunk subgenre has seen a huge resurgence these past few years, with major pieces like Altered Carbon, Ready Player One, Cyberpunk 2077 and its spin-off show Edgerunners, and of course, the long-awaited sequel, Blade Runner 2049. These shows, films, and games are mostly famous for their lively aesthetics, exciting plots, and unique characters, but what many fail to realize is that cyberpunk as a whole is actually really dystopian. And even worse, the fact that modern society has developed to become very similar to the genre. So, in what aspects exactly are we becoming cyberpunk? In this video, I'll discuss a few ways our world is slowly making science fiction a reality. First, what is cyberpunk? What makes it different from other science fiction subgenres? It's commonly summarized with the phrase high-tech, low-life, which essentially means that it juxtaposes advanced technology with poor quality of life or poor living conditions. While its roots trace back to the New Wave movement of the 1960s and 70s, cyberpunk really became popular culture in the 80s. As Christophe Danton put it expresses the response of the early 1980s observers to the social impact of the electronic media and the digital revolution. The term cyberpunk was coined by Bruce Bethke in 1983, but William Gibson's Neuromancer is what truly established it as a science fiction subgenre. Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, despite underperforming in theaters, also became one of the most notable pieces of the genre. In fact, William Gibson himself recalled having to leave the movie theater when he went to watch it because he was uncomfortable with how accurate the movie was to his own vision of the future. Blade Runner's version of Los Angeles serves as a perfect example of a cyberpunk future. A concrete jungle of massive skyscrapers with advertising graphics and giant screens on them, bathing the streets with colorful lights and blaring out obnoxious commercial messages. Masses of people of all different ethnic backgrounds, speaking different languages and wearing flashy clothing. And most importantly, the presence of massive corporate logos, seen on the top of those skyscrapers as if establishing the idea that they're the top dogs in the society, towering over all the ordinary people below. These are the defining characteristics that are evident in most cyberpunk pieces that followed, and we'll get to see them more in the examples I use later on in the video. With the dazzling aesthetic of cyberpunk cities, sometimes it's easy to miss the image of people and their reliance on technology, especially in Blade Runner, where they mostly focus on people that are not technically people. But anyway, people in these fictional societies are always thirsting for the latest or greatest technology, whether it's for work or for escapism, because, let's be real, in such a dystopian world, these are the only two uses for it. Either use technology to help you climb to the top, or use it to temporarily escape your reality. Technologies common in these worlds include virtual reality and the digital worlds that come with it, robots, flying vehicles, cybernetics, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, and, well, a lot more than that. If some of these sound familiar to you, that's probably because they already exist in real life. Just a reminder, cyberpunk became a thing in the 1980s, when all of this was just science fiction. Now, we see this stuff every day and don't even think twice about it. Tesla's self-driving cars, FaceTime video calls, smartwatches, even smartphones were once considered science fiction, and now basically no one can live without one. The virtual assistants that live in our devices, like Siri, Bixby, Google, Alexa, they're becoming so advanced that they're probably going to end up like this guy soon enough.
I'm preoccupied with the crisis that is ongoing, and I simply cannot oversee everything.
Thanks to companies like Meta, virtual reality is becoming more expansive, developing places that are made for work and for comfort. And because of this, we're starting to look more and more like the people in Ready Player One. And I'm not saying that these are bad. They're actually pretty cool. I mean, look at what technology is doing for the medical field. Bionic arms and other prosthetics are nearly becoming what Cyberpunk calls cybernetics. But still, in the wrong hands, advanced technology can be dangerous. For example, their use in cyber warfare, which isn't even a new thing. Back in 2010, a computer worm called Stuxnet was detected, and according to anthropologist Adam Berger, evidence suggests that it was developed specifically to incapacitate key Iranian nuclear facilities. While military analysts suggested that it was developed as a peaceful alternative to bombing reactors, it actually ended up spreading from Iran to India, where it was known to have infected over 8,500 computers and delayed the launch of a new communications satellite system. While this happened over a decade ago, cyber warfare could get a lot worse. Mohammed Noor Amin, the chairman of Impact, warned that state-sponsored cyber war experts could disrupt power plants, public transportation infrastructure, and dams across international borders. Now imagine what cyber warfare would be like if megacorporations decided to use it against each other. The platforms we use daily could be affected, leading to a disruption in our daily routines and lifestyles. Oh right, megacorporations. Yeah, you can't talk about Cyberpunk without mentioning them. They're just as vital to the genre as technology is, because, after all, they're the ones making the technology. And like I said before, they're the top dogs in these societies. There are ads everywhere, and corporations rule, like, to the point of having their own paramilitaries and having government influence. Whether or not any real-life corporations have their own paramilitary is unknown right now, but Facebook did basically buy a police force a few years ago. The ultra-rich like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos have proven that, with enough money, you can do whatever you want. Jeff Bezos flew to outer space for the flex, and even paid to get a historic Dutch bridge dismantled so his new super yacht can travel past it. Meanwhile, Amazon's employees can't even get bathroom breaks and experience injuries at a higher rate than average warehouse workers. They also have to worry about potentially losing jobs to the company's robot workers, which work in the warehouses with them, and getting shortchanged when they receive their paycheck. One particular Amazon warehouse in Alabama failed their attempt to unionize because it faced the world's most powerful anti-union company. As John Logan put it, Amazon's blistering anti-union campaign demonstrates that workplace democracy in the United States is on life support. Their campaign involved using any means necessary, even if it meant violating the law. Among these, they successfully got Jefferson County to change the duration of traffic lights, so drivers wouldn't be able to interact with pro-union workers. Anyway, the point here is that, just like in cyberpunk worlds, megacorporations are ruling over much of society, while the rest of society lives in increasingly difficult conditions, or as Cyberpunk calls it, low lives. And at the same time, they're able to use our data for their own benefit. Remember the Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal? That not only provided a sneak peek into how corporations can sway politics, but it also showed how easily users can be subjected to surveillance. And I think that this is extremely important to keep in mind before joining the metaverse for whatever reason. So, if you ask me, I'd say we're fairly close to becoming cyberpunk, but we've still got a ways to go before actually getting there. But I don't think that should be the goal. Yes, cybernetics and virtual reality and all that are cool, but we have to make sure to limit the ways these technologies affect our lives. We should take these films, shows, and games as examples of what our society would look like if we don't. As Mike Pondsmith once said, "Cyberpunk is a warning, not an aspiration."